My dad, Stephen, 67, runs our family business. Everyone thought he was the rock of the family until I noticed his blatant favoritism toward my cousin. At first, I thought it was just business politics, but then I uncovered a hidden relationship that explained everything. What I found didn't just break our trust, it nearly destroyed the entire family. So, this all blew up a couple months ago, but the fallout is still going strong. My dad, Stephen, 67, owns a mid-sized construction company that he started back in the 80s. It's always been the family business. My brother Mark, 38, my cousin Daniel, 35, and I, 32, all work there. The plan was always that one day, Dad would retire and pass things down to us. At least, that's what I thought. Lately, Dad's been showing this obvious favoritism toward Daniel. Like, painfully obvious. Whenever we'd have meetings in the office, Dad would always turn to Daniel first for opinions, even on stuff outside his department. He'd say things like, "Daniel's got a good head for numbers, we should trust his judgment," while brushing off my remarks' input completely. One time, we were discussing this new apartment complex contract. I had worked on the proposal for weeks, running the numbers, building out the timeline, everything. In the meeting, Daniel comes in late, flips through the papers for like 2 minutes, and Dad goes, "Well, I like Daniel's enthusiasm, let's move forward with his tweaks." His tweaks were basically rearranging 2 bullet points. I sat there fuming while Mark kicked me under the table like, "Don't start." After a while, the favoritism became a running joke between me and Mark. Like, "Oh, did you know Daniel invented concrete?" Or guess Daniel's about to be named Employee of the Millennium. But under the jokes, we were pissed. We both busted our asses in that business for years, while Daniel's only been around for like 5. Then came the kicker. We were having drinks one night after work, me, Mark, and Daniel, when Mark jokingly said, "Dad's probably going to leave the whole business to you, huh, Danny boy?" Daniel laughed a little too hard and said, "Well, maybe he should. Blood is blood, right?" That line stuck in my head. Because, yeah, he's family, but he's not that close. A week later, I was in Dad's office dropping off paperwork when I noticed something on his desk. It was a photo, flipped face down. I don't know why, but curiosity got the best of me, and I looked. It was Dad and Daniel's mom, Aunt Linda, back in the day. Except they weren't standing like siblings-in-law. They were holding hands. It clicked in my head like a damn thunderclap. Dad and Aunt Linda had some kind of hidden relationship. And suddenly, all the favoritism made sense. Daniel might not just be my cousin, he might be Dad's son. My stomach dropped. I felt sick, like the room was spinning. I left the photo exactly how I found it, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. The pieces were all there, the favoritism, the weird bond between Dad and Daniel, the way Aunt Linda always defended Dad no matter what. I went home that night and told Mark what I saw. He just stared at me, jaw on the floor, and said, "Oh, holy, if that's true, everything makes sense." But then he asked the question that's been eating at me since, do we confront him? Or let it stay buried? After finding that photo, I couldn't look at Dad the same. Every meeting, every casual lunch at the diner new at the office, every time he and Daniel shared one of their inside jokes, it all felt loaded now. Mark and I decided to keep it between us until we were sure. But keeping quiet was brutal. The breaking point came at a Friday afternoon meeting. We just landed a big city contract, one that I had put together from scratch. I was buzzing with excitement, finally ready for some recognition. But of course, Dad stood at the head of the conference table, slapped Daniel on the back, and said, "None of this would have been possible without Daniel's guidance." I couldn't stop myself. "Guidance?" I snapped. "Dad, I wrote that proposal." Daniel didn't even look at it until the day we submitted. Daniel smirked. "Hey, teamwork, right?" "No," I shot back. "Not when you're taking credit for everything." The room went dead quiet. Dad's face turned red, and he said through clenched teeth, "Step into my office now." Inside, he slammed the door shut. What the hell was that, embarrassing me in front of the whole team? I exploded. "You've been handing everything to Daniel like he's the golden boy. What about me? What about Mark? We've put in years, and you're acting like Daniel walks on water." Dad's eyes narrowed. "Maybe Daniel deserves more than you realize." I wanted to scream the truth right then, but Mark's voice echoed in my head, "Don't jump without proof." So instead, I just muttered, "Yeah, maybe he does," and stormed out. That weekend, Mom hosted a family dinner, her idea of keeping everyone close. The whole extended crew was there, Aunt Linda, Uncle Ray, Daniel, even some younger cousins. The smell of roast chicken and garlic potatoes should have been comforting, but I could barely swallow. Halfway through, Aunt Linda made some snide comment about how Daniel's leadership skills clearly come from his mother's side. Dad chuckled in this awkward way, and I saw them exchange a glance. It wasn't the normal brother-in-law/sister-in-law look. It was something else. Mark leaned over to me and whispered, "You seeing this? It's creepy." I whispered back, "We need to corner Dad, alone." After dessert, when people were clearing plates, I caught Dad in the hallway by the coat rack. "We need to talk now." He looked annoyed, but I pulled Mark along, and we shut the door to the study. "All right," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "We know something's going on. The favoritism, the looks, that photo of you and Aunt Linda. What the hell is happening?" Dad frowned. His face drained of colour. He sat down slowly, like his knees had given out. For the first time, I saw genuine fear in his eyes. "Where did you see that photo?" he asked quietly. I didn't answer. Instead, I pressed, "Is Daniel really our cousin?" Mark's voice cracked when he added, "Or is he our brother?" Dad buried his face in his hands. And in that silence, we knew we'd hit the truth. Dad stayed like that for what felt like forever, head in hands, shoulders shaking slightly. I didn't know whether to be angry, horrified, or just numb. Mark leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, clearly trying to look calm but failing miserably. Finally, Dad spoke, his voice low, almost a whisper. You found the photo." I swallowed hard. "Yeah, and we need the truth, Dad. Is Daniel our brother?" He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he rubbed his face and let out a shaky sigh. "It's not something I wanted anyone to know, not now. Not ever, but yes, Daniel is my son. I had a thing with Linda long before she married your Uncle Ray." Mark's jaw dropped, and I felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. "So all this time, all the favoritism, you've been hiding a son in plain sight?" Dad nodded slowly. I thought I was protecting everyone. Daniel was young, confused. Linda was complicated. I didn't want to ruin anyone's life. I thought if I helped him succeed quietly, it would be better than creating a scandal. I sank into the chair, trying to process the betrayal. So you've been playing favourites because you were giving your own kid the best chance, while the rest of us, your actual children, get leftovers. Dad flinched. I never meant for it to hurt your Mark. I thought you'd understand someday. Understand? I shouted. You've been lying to us for decades, and now we find out through a photo you didn't even think we'd see. Mark spoke for the first time, voice trembling. Dad, this changes everything. I don't even know how to work with Daniel now, or trust him. We were interrupted by Aunt Linda's sharp voice from the hallway. Stephen, everything all right in there? I felt my stomach knot. Dad froze again, then muttered, he needs to know, Linda, they need the truth. Mom had been standing quietly by the doorway, arms folded. She looked pale, but steady. So, you're finally going to admit it? She asked. After all these years of keeping it secret, you're going to let your kids find out like this? Dad looked at her, guilt written all over his face. I didn't want to hurt anyone. I wanted to make things easier for Daniel. I thought I could manage it. Linda's voice softened. Stephen, maybe you should just tell them everything. There's no hiding it now. I felt a mix of anger and dread. So this wasn't just a minor family secret. It had been shaping our entire lives, our careers, and our relationships with each other. Daniel had been benefiting from it without even knowing the whole story. Mark ran a hand through his hair, muttering, I don't even know if I can face him tomorrow. I clenched my fists. Yeah, because the moment of truth just started, and I don't think anything will ever be the same again. Dad hung his head, silent. Aunt Linda's steps faded down the hallway. The room felt like a vacuum, heavy and suffocating. And in that moment, I realised our family business and maybe even our family itself was about to be torn apart by the secret. The next morning, I walked into the office with a knot in my stomach. Everything felt heavier, like the walls themselves knew the secret that were watching me. Daniel was there early, coffee in hand, humming like nothing had changed. I wanted to scream at him, but part of me knew he had no idea. Mark met me in the hallway, face pale. We can't act normal, he whispered. Not after last night. I nodded. We have to confront him before Dad says anything. He needs to hear from us. When Daniel strolled into the meeting room, I motioned for him to sit. We need to talk, I said. His brow furrowed. All about what? About Dad, I said, my voice tight. And Aunt Linda. Daniel laughed nervously. Well, Kate, I have no idea what you mean, but sure. Mark jumped in. You might want to sit down for this. This is going to change everything you thought you knew about this family. Daniel's smile faltered. Wait, what? I took a deep breath. Dad's been hiding a relationship with your mom, and... I paused, watching him process. You're more than just our cousin. He froze, coffee halfway to his lips. What are you saying? Mark blurted. Your dad's son, Daniel, we found the photo, has been driving the favoritism at the office. All those promotions and special projects. Daniel's face went pale. I don't. I mean, that's impossible. Dad would have told me if... He stopped, eyes wide, like the world was tilting around him. I leaned forward. Daniel, we're telling you because this affects everything, our work, our trust, our family. You need to know the truth before it ruins more than just your career here. For a long moment, no one spoke. The hum of the air conditioner was deafening. Finally, he whispered, I had suspicions, but I thought I was just imagining it. Mark's jaw tightened. You weren't. Dad's been giving you opportunities over us for years, and it's not just about business, it's about feelings, hidden ones. Daniel looked down at his hands, trembling. I don't know what to say. I never asked for this. I never wanted to be the reason for any tension. I shook my head. He didn't cause it, Dad did, and now we all have to deal with it. He swallowed hard. So this changes everything. Work, the company, the family. Mark's voice was bitter. Yeah, you get all the perks and all the secrets, while the rest of us, your actual siblings, get shoved aside, and now we're supposed to just move on. Daniel's eyes filled with guilt. I didn't know. I swear I didn't. I exhaled, trying to calm our shaking hands. I know you didn't, but Dad needs to answer for this, and we need to figure out if his family business can survive the fallout, because right now, I'm not sure it can. He nodded slowly, the weight of realization pressing down. I guess we'll have to figure it out together, somehow. The room was silent after that, tension thick enough to choke on. And I realized that even though Daniel was innocent, nothing would ever feel the same again. By midweek, the tension in the office was unbearable. Every glance at Dad felt like a silent accusation. Mark and I had avoided him all morning, letting Daniel process things, but by lunchtime, it was clear we couldn't keep dodging the inevitable showdown. We cornered Dad in his office, the smell of old leather and coffee filling the air. He looked up, weary, like he'd been expecting this. I know why you're here, he said quietly. Mark slammed a folder on the desk. You owe us the truth, Dad, not just bits and pieces, everything. The favoritism, the lies, the secret relationship. We need to know what you were thinking. Dad sighed, leaning back. I was trying to protect everyone. Daniel was special. I thought I was helping him, making sure he had the opportunities he deserved without tearing the family apart. I almost shouted. Special? He's your son and the rest of us. We're left cleaning up crumbs while you act like this is some kind of gift. Dad flinched. I didn't know how to tell you. I thought it would ruin everything. I thought if I kept it hidden, it'd be easier. Easier for who? Him? You? Not us. Mark's voice cracked. We've busted our asses here for decades, and you've been playing favourites like we're not even part of this family. Daniel stepped into the doorway, voice hesitant. I don't want to fight. I never asked for any of this. I didn't know. Dad looked at him, and for the first time I saw his face soften. I know. I thought I was protecting you, son. I shook my head. No, you were protecting yourself, and now the entire company is on edge. Dad, our family is on edge. People are noticing. They know something is off. You can't just pretend this didn't happen. There was silence. The weight of Dad's choices pressed down on all of us. I could see the guilt and regret in his eyes, but that didn't erase the damage. Finally, he whispered, I'm sorry. I truly am. I wanted to do right by all of you, but I failed. I can't take back the years of favoritism or the lies, but I want to fix it. I'll do whatever it takes. Mark's shoulders sagged. Words aren't enough, Dad. You need to show it. Actions matter more than apologies now. I added, we need transparency, no more secrets, everyone gets treated equally, Daniel can't keep special privileges, and the company, we need a plan to make sure this doesn't destroy it. Dad nodded slowly, finally taking in the gravity of what we were saying. I understand, I'll make it right. For the first time, there was a glimmer of hope. The tension didn't vanish, but the raw honesty brought us closer than we'd been in years. It wasn't perfect. It wouldn't be easy. But at least now, the lies were out in the open. Daniel looked at me nervously. I don't know if I can forgive him, but I want to try. I want the family to survive this. I nodded, exhausted, but relieved. It's going to take time, a lot of time, but we'll figure it out. And as Dad sat there, silent, I realized that this was the first step toward rebuilding trust, however shaky it might be. The storm wasn't over, but at least we were finally facing it together. The fallout wasn't just confined to the office. Once the secret hit the family, it spread like wildfire. By the weekend, every relative who mattered or thought they did was calling, texting, or showing up unannounced. Mom was stressed, pacing the kitchen, muttering under her breath about how this was going to ruin everything. Mark and I tried to keep Daniel shielded from the worst of it, but Aunt Linda had a way of making herself the centre of attention. She cornered Daniel one evening at the family house, voice low and intense. You have to understand, Daniel, your father did what he thought was best, but this doesn't change your responsibilities here. You need to earn your place, not rely on secrets. Daniel looked stunned. I thought I was doing that. I thought I was just working hard. I didn't know any of this. Linda shook her head. Naivety won't cut it anymore. The family sees you differently now, and you need to be careful. Meanwhile, back at the business, employees were whispering. Rumours flew faster than any project deadline. Some people were openly taking sides, others avoiding us entirely. Even my closest team members hesitated to bring proposals to Dad without a careful nod to Daniel. One afternoon, I found Dad and Mark in the conference room, tension practically visible in the air. Dad rubbed his temples, exhausted. I didn't realise how much this would affect the business. Everyone's morale is tanking. I thought I could handle this quietly, but it's worse than I imagined. Mark shot back. You didn't just affect the business, Dad. You affected us. The trust is gone. People are questioning our integrity. And Daniel, he's caught in the middle, whether he wants to be or not. Dad nodded, silently acknowledging the truth. Then, with a deep breath, he said, we have to be proactive. We need a family meeting. Everyone, I need to explain, openly, what happened. No more secrets. I wasn't sure how the family would react, but it was clear we had no choice. That evening, the house was tense, the air heavy. Cousins, aunts, uncles, even a few long-lost relatives who had heard rumours arrived, faces full of suspicion. Dad stood in front of everyone, his hand shaking slightly. I know many of you are hurt, confused, and angry, and you should be. I made mistakes, I hid things, and I showed favoritism toward Daniel because he's my son. It was wrong to keep it secret, wrong to give him advantages without telling you. I am sorry. The room was silent. Some gasped, some shook their heads, others whispered quietly. I glanced at Daniel. His expression was a mix of shock, guilt, and relief. Mark and I exchanged a look. Then Aunt Linda stepped forward. This true, and we both made mistakes keeping it hidden, but this family, this business can survive this if we face it together. No more lies. The tension was palpable, but for the first time since the secret was uncovered, there was a glimmer of understanding. Everyone knew the road ahead would be rocky, but at least now, the truth was out, and we had a chance to start repairing the damage. The weeks that followed were some of the hardest we've ever faced. Every day at the office felt like walking a tightrope. Employees were still cautious. Whispers floated around, and every project meeting seemed to carry the weight of the family secret. But slowly things began to shift. Dad started making amends in small ways. He made sure to give equal credit to everyone in meetings. He invited Mark and me to review every major decision before it went out. And with Daniel, he established a clear separation between family and business roles, no special privileges, no hidden favoritism. Daniel struggled with this at first, but eventually he began to understand. One Saturday, we had a small family council at our house. Just immediate family, Mom, Dad, Mark, Daniel, and me. It was informal but serious. Dad started, I know I hurt you all. My actions caused tension, confusion, and resentment. I want to be better. Mark crossed his arms. Actions matter more than words. Dad, you promised transparency before, but now we need proof you can actually follow through. Dad nodded solemnly. I understand. I'll do whatever it takes. Then, for the first time, I spoke directly to Daniel. I know this isn't your fault, but things are going to be different. We're going to rebuild trust, both at work and at home, and you need to earn that trust like the rest of us. Daniel's eyes welled up. I want that. I never wanted to be the centre of this mess. I just want to be part of the family, really, and I want to prove myself at the company fairly. It wasn't a perfect moment, but it was a start. We talked for hours about the business, about family roles, and about setting boundaries. Dad admitted mistakes openly. Mom offered support, but reminded us that healing would take time. Mark and I didn't forgive everything instantly, but we listened, and we allowed space for reconciliation. Over the next month, small changes started to show. Dad implemented weekly team updates with full transparency. Daniel, although awkward at first, began collaborating fairly with the rest of us. Morale at the office improved, little by little. And at home, we began to re-establish trust, shared meals, honest conversations, even the occasional joking like before the secret came out. It wasn't perfect. There were still tense moments where I caught Dad glancing at Daniel a little too fondly, or where Daniel hesitated to challenge a decision. But we were learning. Slowly, painfully, we were learning to navigate this new reality. I realized that families aren't perfect. Secrets, favoritism, and hidden relationships can tear people apart, but they can also teach lessons about honesty, accountability, and forgiveness. By facing the truth, however ugly, we finally had a chance to rebuild. And maybe, just maybe, our family business and our family itself could survive the storm. Not unscathed, but stronger in ways we didn't expect. It's still a work in progress, but for the first time in a long time, I feel a cautious optimism. The lies are gone. The favoritism is gone. And now, there's a chance to truly move forward.